Guten Tag, it's me, WNT. Recently, Viviana got her mod Y, and it's an interesting one. It lets her do things that no other unit in the game can do, and I think those who like it will love it. However, unlike her Delta mod, that won't be everyone. But will it be right for you? A year ago, I made a guide talking about how great her Delta mod was. It over doubles her damage, lets her outdo Surtur in terms of single target damage, and is one of the biggest buffs any operator has ever gotten from their mod. So how do you outdo that? You don't. Vivi's Y mod isn't trying to beat her Delta mod at all. Instead, it's doing its own thing entirely. The base effect is the only real damage increase she gets from it, applying 10% Art's fragility to any units she's blocking. Meanwhile, the talent upgrade increases her shield trigger chance from 20% to 27%, and finally lets her stack 2 shields. This mod is really niche, but that's both its biggest strength and its biggest weakness. See, it is entirely focused on making her as durable as possible, which, compared to doubling her damage, isn't all that significant in day-to-day play, especially considering that durability has never really been an issue for her in the first place. However, it goes so hard at this one very specific thing that it makes her into one of, if not the best melee blockers in the game. Increasing the shield trigger chance is huge for softening her RNG, and is especially notable on her S3, which multiplies the effect by 2.5 and lets her hit 3 times per attack. But the biggest difference by far is the increased stack count. Before, once she had a shield, she had to wait to trigger another, essentially making the actual trigger chance much lower than it says in her talent. By letting her trigger a second in advance, this lets her keep her shield coverage significantly higher than she could ever achieve otherwise. While before it was still a potent form of effective damage reduction, and one that compounded nicely with her first talent, you had to get very lucky for her to bypass all damage entirely, especially between S3 activations. Now, she will almost always leave her S3 with 2 shields and have a much wider window to trigger another shield before receiving damage. A window in which she can take advantage of the now much higher odds of triggering them in the first place. This takes her from sturdy to invincible against the right enemies, and notably translates well to a pretty wide range of content. She won't care about HP or enemy attack modifiers in CC if she's not taking damage anyway. And in IS, attack speed increases can massively increase the opportunities she has to roll a shield, and SP generation can reduce the time between S3 activations. Now, it's not perfect. She can still struggle against enemies with multi-hit, as they can burn through multiple shields quickly, but she'll still do much better against them than she could before, even being able to tank Phase 1 Patriot with some healing. However, how often do you need that? Honestly, probably not very often. While this does give her a niche that no one else can really compete with, most of the time she could just kill the enemy with her Delta mod before that level of survivability is even required, even if there are technically more optimal DPS options. So it leaves her in this weird spot where technically, in terms of purely optimal play, her Y mod is her meta option. However, in terms of what you'll actually experience while using her, her Delta mod is by far the better choice. This is a perfect encapsulation of why it's important to look beyond the strict meta when making your picks for who to invest in and how you build them. Even assuming you have every operator and infinite resources, which, well, I certainly don't, you have to look at how you actually plan on using them, what your playstyle is, and what sort of experience you want to have when playing the game. And while it's definitely possible to have fun with these sorts of meta niches, I mean, I at least am very excited for this mod, you have to make sure that you don't optimize the fun out of the game based on what someone told you is optimal either. So, while I would definitely recommend that everyone who wants to use Viviana should build her Delta mod, I can't quite push this one in the same way. There will be people who like it, even outside of it technically being her unique gameplay niche at this point. And you can do some very silly things with it. I mean, look at the background footage. But I think you should at least ask yourself what you plan on using it for beforehand. So if, like me, you love watching her tank things that no guard has any right to tank, often just taking 0 damage in the process, go for it. You'll love this mod. But if you're happy with her Delta mod, the damage it brings, and the burn synergies that it allows, by all means stick with that. Anyway, for a more detailed breakdown on her kit and how it relates to both her Delta mod and her fellow arts fighters, check out my full guide. But thanks as always to my members Lena, Apparent Angel, Pusa15, and Shali, and Auf Wiedersehen.